Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Unsung Season 10, and this is the episode about Fat Joe. I must say, this was a very great episode. Very impressed by it from beginning to end, and um, I can even say that right now, his song "All the Way Up" is a major hit. It's being nominated for 2 Grammys, so big ups to him, big ups to Remy Ma, French Montana. It's great, that Remy Ma has come back in a major way, and she's finally getting the, recognition and fame that she deserves. And I'm glad to see that Fat Joe is still winning out here in this game. So at the end of the day, all is good with me. But this was a great episode about Fat Joe. They even had 50 Cent doing commentary because, back in the day, him and 50 were beefing, especially after one of his biggest hits in his career was Love that he did with Ashanti, was co-produced and co-written with Ja Rule. Because of him and Ja Rule's affiliation, that caused, a rift with 50, which definitely escalated, it pretty much created its own monster. But eventually they pretty much reunited at a tribute for Chris Lighty, who was a well-known, one of the magnets, in hip hop music as far as being a management and production. I mean, this guy was like the man that could move mountains. And for him to, die, due to the circumstances. I mean, some say suicide, some say that it could be, a possible conspiracy. It could be a lot of things. But the great thing about it that, because Chris managed both of them. He had managed both Fat Joe, and at one point he also managed 50. So, and they both were very close to Chris, and it took the loss of Chris to bring those two together. And now it's good that they're actually on some positive shit, and that they both are still winning, in both of their in both of their careers, and pretty much where they're trying to go further in their lives, that they're now on a different playing field. So it's good to see that, as men, we actually grow throughout our lives. So that was pretty interesting to see. And a lot of people gave great commentary. 50 Cent gave great commentary on this. Also, DJ Khaled had made the statement that he's timeless. I could not more agree with Fat Joe all the way. Like, he's definitely a timeless artist. I mean, hello. Right now, he's being nominated for 2 Grammys. That should let you know right now that he's making a comeback in the best way, and he's doing it in 2016, now 2017, and to really see him, back into the mainstream after all this time, it's proof in the pudding that, yeah, he is timeless, because even now a younger generation is now, vibing towards music, and is now, saying that we rocking with you. So it's actually a beautiful thing to see. And the thing about it is that even though he's dealt with tragedy, loss of a friendship, lots of pitfalls that he went through, he managed to still rise above it and still looks to the stars, even when, things around you may fall apart. You have to still keep going. And he pretty much said that he made it a personal choice for himself that he was going to climb out and make things better. Pretty much his actual government is Joseph Antonio Cartagena. He's from the Bronx. Pretty much, grew up in a housing project with his family. Said his mom worked 3 jobs, and they really struggled hard. But another thing is that he grew up, in the birthplace of hip hop, the ground zero for hip hop. I mean, this is the same area that bred, acts like, the Sugar Hill Gang, Curtis Blow. I mean, all of these great, legends now in hip hop all came out of this era. And for him growing up in that era, beatboxing, breakdancing, being a part of that scene, it enlivened him, and it really gave him something to look forward to, and it gave him something to inspire to be. But then on the flip side, you also had the reality of being in the hood, where, poverty, fast money, drugs, pretty much everything that comes with the territory of living in a low-income area. So pretty much he even said that when he was a kid, he would get into a fight every single day almost, because he went to a school that was outside of his neighborhood. So kids constantly taunted him, so he pretty much, became, a force to be reckoned with, where after a while people didn't fuck with him, pretty much so. But he said that, yeah, he had to fight all the time. And then he ended up, he pretty much, they also talk about that, it got to the point where he started selling drugs and pretty much started getting in with the wrong crowd and things like that. But initially it was survival. He did what he had to do. Because he pretty much said that at that point in his life he didn't care. It's like, look, either kill or be killed. So that was a sentiment that he stuck with, that look, regardless of how bad things get, I'm gonna crawl out of this shit. And it resonates it definitely resonates as of right now as we speak. Well, it got to the point where he even, the actual crew that he ran with when he was, selling drugs and robbing people was called the Terror Squad. So it was a name that he'd been working with even when he was in his teens. And he was talking about how they would, shut down parties and rob people and sell drugs and do all that shit. But there was this guy named Diamond D who was with this, I think he was with this rap group called Digging in the Crates or something like that. He pretty much gave, Joe a lifeline. Pretty much said that, look, you out here slinging and doing all this shit, why don't you try something different? Why not try pursuing music? And when he said that after he decided to get out of the game, he went to all the kingpins and let them know that he was going to be a rapper, and they kind of laughed at him. Like, man, you going to leave this fucking money, to be chasing something that's probably not even possible or may not be guaranteed? You going to do that shit? Look, then that's when he's talking about that, may not be in this moment, but it's something that's definitely profound that he said when he said, talking about the invisible train. Sometimes you have to take faith, you have to have faith and ride that invisible train, because that invisible train always leads to success. So he pretty much knew he had a plan, he had a dream, he had a mission, and he was going to complete it, and he was going to see it through. And that even though at that moment it looked like he was walking away from a secure means of living or a secure means of survival, to pretty much, go through the wilderness. And he chose to go through the wilderness. And he's even a more remarkable man because he chose to give up that fast life to really pursue his dreams and aspirations. So big ups to him for that. And big ups to anybody who's, decided to get out of a bad situation to embrace a good situation, even though at that moment you didn't know how it was going to play out. And the thing is, he actually became pretty successful. I mean, he won the Apollo Theater Contest 4 times. I mean, that's remarkable. And it was, he actually met someone that was there. I forgot the person that he met. If you guys remember it, leave it down in the comments. I definitely respond to my comments, so definitely if you guys have anything for me, just leave it down there. Because I know I'm not going to get everything right. Just letting you know. But there was a guy that he met at the Apollo who introduced him to Chris Lighty. And Chris Lighty was one of the top managers in the music industry. I mean, this guy, as I said, moved mountains. I mean, and he worked with the top, hip-hop artists, I would say like within the 90s and like early 2000s. I mean, it's real. I mean, definitely Chris Lighty was the man when it came down to hip-hop. And pretty much he said that he was so hungry and so driven at the time. He said that Chris pulled him aside, talked to him, let him know what the game was about. And he said he signed the contract right there on the concrete, and right there on the street. He said he didn't even have a damn lawyer, but that's how badly he wanted it. He was like, I wanted to change my life, and I knew I had to do this in order to change it. And whatever mistakes or errors that were made, you can always go back and clean those up. But at that moment, he chose to choose his dream, and more power to him for that shit. His first album was called Represent back in '93. I definitely remember the song Flojo. I used to watch it I used to see it on Rap City all the time. I mean, that song still rings true to me. I mean, I love that track. Definitely when I was hearing it, I just started really bobbing my head and started getting into that shit because it kind of took me back, being a little kid, watching BET with, my friends and shit, and, we popped it on. We're pretty much watching Rap City, and, you got, videos from Fat Joe and all the top, rappers of that day, and, some of the stuff they didn't play on mainstream, we got on Rap City, so Rap City was like our MTV in some case. So, and for me, like growing up, I mean, it was like Rap City, The Box. I definitely was really into R&B and hip hop. I'm definitely a R&B and hip hop fanatic. So as much as I loved R&B, I loved hip hop all the same. So it's like I've always went back and forth between the two, which is probably why Fat Joe's one of my favorite artists, because he definitely knows how to mix and mend R&B and hip hop in a way that is smooth like Cavassier. And pretty much that first album, was a hit. It went #1 on the rap charts, and it started his career. And he's been, going at it ever since. And let's see. And because he made it, what's really astounding about Fat Joe is that he didn't make it trying to sound black. He didn't make it trying to be like the current rappers of that time. He put, Latinos on the map, as far as the music game. I mean, he pretty much ushered in that, no, we rap, but we're going to represent who we are. We're going to represent, our heritage and who we're about. And the rap game is even more better, now that we had, artists like, Fat Joe, as well as the late and great, Big Pun. So, a.k.a. Christopher Rios. And they talked about when they first met, and he said when he first heard Big Pun, he was like the best lyricist he ever heard, and and pretty much, Pun became like his little brother, because he was already established, but then he went back and wanted to bring more Latino artists into the industry. He didn't want to just be like a one hit out of the pan. He wanted to always innovate and cultivate new ideas, of his music as well as his presentation. So, let's see. And they also talked about like when he went to Florida, he had met his wife and all of that. And I thought, and it looks like he has a great marriage and great kids. I mean, they were really beautiful to see. And the fact he actually has a good woman by his side and a ride or die, you can't ask for no more than that. And he also was a master at the idea that the game is forever changing. So due to the fact that the game is forever changing, you have to find out what you have to do next. What is it that the people want, and what is it that the people are lending an ear to. You have to match that, or at least attempt to match that. And he was pretty much, hitting on the fact that he didn't want to do another. Yeah, he didn't want to do like another Represent album. He wanted to do something fresh, something different. Yes, and then he So pretty much his next album that he did after that had a totally different sound. He pretty much, as I said before, he mended R&B and hip hop, and the song "Envy," which actually samples "Sexual Healing" by Marvin Gaye. You know, you can tell from that he wasn't going to be like a one hit out of the pen, that he was going to have a career. And then from that point on, now that he's even furthermore established, he decides to form his own management company and to bring other rappers, to the game. You had Triple Size, first you had Pun and him both, went back and brought people, to the game. People like Triple Size, Prospect, Armageddon, Cuban Link, and then later on Remy Ma. And Remy Ma was actually brought into the fold by Big Pun, and she even talks about in her discussion that when she first started coming around and she would rap or whatever, and she said she thought that Fat Joe didn't like her, and he would kind of like give her like this face or whatever, and she was like, why is and she kind of like approached him about like, what is it? Am I sounding bad? You don't like me? What is it? He's like, no, it's not that. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm mad that Pun brought you here and I didn't bring you here. So it's like you his discovery and not mine. But then again, it was like, wow, it just goes to show that he not only liked her, he loved her. So that was cool. That was cool that she shared that story. Then they talk about his first gold record, which was Don Cartagena, which pretty much represented him in the God complex, which was him being the man, the Al Capone or the Al Pacino, you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was pretty hot. And then also in the late 90s is when Big Pun released his album, Capital Punishment, which went to #1. But sadly, Big Pun died, in 2000. And pretty much that really wrecked him, and definitely we as loyal hip hop fans, I mean, we definitely felt the loss. And I'm pretty sure no one felt it as hard as Fat Joe, because as they said, like they were like brothers. I mean, they were very close. So he said, so losing him, really, he kind of went through a dark path. He, started battling depression and anxiety. He started drinking and things like that. So. But pretty much he chose to, get out of New York and move to Miami, to try to get a fresh start. And then while he was in Miami is when pretty much while he was in Miami is when he did the Jose album. That's with R. Kelly, We Thuggin', and then also What's Love with Ashanti, which was a mainstream hit. Was a mainstream hit, and I think it pretty much was a big hit on the pop charts. I even remember. Actually, I remember when they showed the video. I remember Maya Campbell being in the video. So shout out to Maya Campbell. Definitely still a huge fan. Well, pretty much the album got a Grammy nomination, and it went platinum, and it's pretty much still his best-selling album to date. So, that Jose album pretty much was a game changer for him. Because he said that because he pretty much is like, that's when white people knew who Fat Joe was. Because definitely if you were a big fan of the 90s, we knew who he was. But then that's when he went from just being within the realms of hip hop and R&B, but he became pop. He became mainstream. And as I said before, that this around it was around this time that him and 50 started beefing due to the fact that due to the fact that Fat Joe was actually working with Ja Rule, and him and Ja Rule collaborated on What's Love because he co-written and co-produced it. And then also you had Ashanti, which actually just made that song magic. Because even if you hear the song today, it still rocks. But that's where 50 started his beef, because he's already then formed his attack on Ja Rule. So anybody that was affiliated with Ja Rule was gonna get the hit, because 50 was about taking over the music game and was about making his mark. And anybody laid in his path, it was on. And that's pretty much what happened between him and Fat Joe, and it definitely led to a lot of diss records and a lot of public dissing. It was a whole lot of situations involving those two, and it went on for quite some time. And then he also talks about the song Lean Back. I mean, that was the shit right there, though. I'm sorry, it's just giving me bad memory stuff. But him and Remy Ma pretty much helped, put, the Terror Squad, because this was the first Terror Squad album, which was called Terror Story, and which was, I think, was done in 2004. It became a top 10 hip hop and pop, pop. It became a hip hop and pop hit, and Remy Ma pretty much was the one who led the charge on that. And then after the success of that, they pretty much they were gonna work on Remy Ma's solo album, but because her album didn't take off, and it was a lot of there was definitely a lot of positive energy, and definitely a lot of constant pushing, that it's going to be a hit, but because it didn't become a hit, that created tension between Remy Ma and Joe, and they had fell out, and it wasn't until years after she had got out of jail that they began to mend their friendship, and it was like as if no time had passed. She said at first it was kind of it was a little tension, it was kind of tough, but then later on it was just like it all melted away. It was like we family, and they came back together, and they rocking right now, with All the Way Up. They got 2 Grammy nominations this year, so it's good to see that when you really have that true combination, and you really have true talent, and you really have love there, you can always come together and make something great again. So definitely that's what I have for Fat Joe. I mean, I'm definitely a big fan, and I definitely love this episode. Anything I missed, please leave in the comments. I would definitely love to hear your feedback. But subscribe to my channel. Please leave comments. I definitely respond to all of them. Like this video, share this video, and I will be back with you guys next week for another episode of Unsung. And I think next week they're doing John B. So definitely, I will definitely have that coming for you guys. And so yeah, I definitely look forward to hearing back from you guys. So until then, take care.